It's GBH's Morning Edition. Thanks for coming along. I'm Joe Matthew. Welcome to Wednesday. A Boston Mayoral Candidates Forum took on new meaning and urgency last night following the verdict in the Derek Chauvin trial. GBH's Callie Crossley moderated the virtual event sponsored by the Boston Ward 5 Democratic Committee. Acting Mayor Kim Janey did not end up taking part because of the timing of the verdict and her news conference. And, well, like most events hosted by Callie Crossley, it made news. And yeah, you heard that music. She joins us now to talk about it. Good morning, Callie. Welcome back.
Good morning, Joe.
It's good to see you. Congratulations on last night's event. You managed to move through a lot of material here, but the issue of police reform was the backdrop, and some might argue, Callie, I'd like to hear from you, the defining issue in this race.
Well, it could be the defining issue in this race. There are some other heavy subjects that the candidates are going to have to face. But because of the timing of the Chauvin verdict, I knew that the candidates were anxious both to respond to that. But hey, we've been having our own issues here in Boston. A lot of conversation about whether to cut the Boston Police Department budget and to move those funds elsewhere. And of course, the case of Patrick Rose and releasing those records. So that was on the minds of all of these candidates who had to ask themselves and tell others what they would do were they in position to make decisions about both of those events. So that became probably one of the most intense parts of the conversations because people came to really be clear about how they stood.
Yeah, you wondered how many notes were thrown out, how many new ideas were born in the hours before this forum. Police funding was really, in many cases, the point of news here. All the candidates but one, and we're going to hear from each of them very quickly here. All but one, City Councilor Anissa Essaibi-George, support reallocating some of the police budget. When Callie asked them, here's what they said.
Yes, Callie, then it would be money that would be redirected from police to those that new agency, to those new professionals, and to the community organizations that are doing those work.
We need to be structurally changing this department. There's taxi licensing that's in the police department. There's school police that should not be.
I'm the only candidate who has committed to cutting the police department's budget by 10%, $50 million.
I commit to a budget that best reflects the city's needs and one that will include a reduction in the demand of police services to reallocate them to more public health-oriented priorities.
I do not support defunding the police. Chances are, if you're ending up in our justice system, it's so many of our other systems that have failed you along the way.
Okay, so we just heard from all of them quickly. John Barros was first, followed by Michelle Wu, Andrea Campbell, John Santiago, and then last was Anissa Essaibi-George, city councilor, who is showing a break here from the rest of the pack, at least. Essaibi-George, Callie, closely associated with former Mayor Marty Walsh, taking a stand here on the need for, she went on to say, more police on the streets.
And I think just to point out something else, she was the only one that used the term defund the police.
Yes.
My question was, would you cut the police department budget and reallocate the funds? As you know, defunding the police can have another overtone, but Essaibi-George was clear to use that term and make herself clear, clearly understood that she did not think that that was the way to go, that instead she wants to focus on the root causes that drive a lot of police officers to be in situations that perhaps they should not be in and leads to other bad outcomes. So that was interesting.
I'm glad that you pointed out that it's important semantics here, because there are, of course, demographics who say defund the police means just get rid of all police departments. And there are, of course, demographics in the city of Boston that must feel that way. Do we have a sense then of the politics that Essaibi-George is going to be pursuing in this race? Does that tell you more than this one issue?
Well, in a couple of other cases, she was maybe standing alone or with one other person, but I don't know that I would say that necessarily. Again, I want to be clear that her stance is there are issues that need to be addressed that police ought not be addressing. Let's go to the root causes of that. That was her take, but I don't feel the need to, according to her, cut the budget. That's, or in her words, defund the police. But it was really clear to me that for everybody else on that panel, they want reform, that reform is happening. Whoever gets to be mayor from this group, and of course we didn't have acting Mayor Kim Janey, there's going to be some manner of reform.
Who surprised you last night? Anyone?
Well, this was not a surprise, but I will note that Michelle Wu was particularly passionate in most of her responses.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if there was just a lot of pent up stuff on some of the issues that she's been underscoring for some time. She's the longest serving city council person. She was elected in 2013. Most everybody else, 2014, 2015, 2018. So, but they all came to bring very specific, as much as they felt they could, plans to the table. When we, for example, talked about the school committee, appointed, elected, hybrid, those people like Andrea Campbell and I think John Santiago, who have not quite decided they want a hybrid, but they don't know what that looks like, were willing to say that.
Mm-hmm.
Others who said, no, we should have, some manner of elected, that's Michelle Wu. Isaiah B. George was really clear that she felt politics needs to stay out of it. So they were making the point, which I'm glad about, to distinguish themselves on these issues. Because as we know, Joe, that recent poll demonstrated that over half of Boston voters have not yet decided or don't even know these candidates.
Isn't that right?
Mm-hmm.
You know that voice. We're talking with Callie Crossley this morning on Morning Edition following her Boston Mayoral Candidates Forum that Callie moderated last night with the Ward 5 Democratic Committee. Just a minute left here. Callie, I'd love to hear you speak about the person who wasn't there. As you mentioned, Kim Janey was up to other things, but of course was speaking to this same issue, spoke to criminal justice reform, spoke to the city as its new acting mayor about that verdict. The power of incumbency is a real thing here for her to be able to take that platform as opposed to being in a candidates forum, which of course she'll have to do a lot of. There are debates and a full race to be run, but that was a key moment for her last night as well.
Oh, absolutely. And because I had to lead off the forum by saying she had planned to be there, but because of the events of the day, she had to attend to actually the role of acting mayor. But I think that also means that the next go round and the next go round and the next go round after that, in the next 5 months, she's going to have to bring it in terms of specificity, because these candidates plan to pin her down with their own plans and ask her to be accountable. So it should be interesting. We got 5 months. It's a little challenging in the Zoom space, but I think there's a great amount of interest.
Yeah, God knows. You run that Zoom space pretty well. I'll tell you what, you can find that forum on Facebook if you want to see the full conversation that we're talking about. It's great to see you, Callie Crossley. You need to come around here more often.
I will, Joe, Matthew. It was good to see the whole gang there.
Thank you, as always, for getting up with us. The great Callie Crossley on GBH's Morning Edition.